Normally I start my videos with a vague question that doesn't really give you a conclusion as to how I'm going to talk about a book, but let's cut to the chase. This video is about why you need to read Blood Over Brighthaven by M L Wang now. Hi, I'm Amanda, and this is Spineless Books, your one-stop shop for all things audiobook. Blood Over Brighthaven is perfection. It is such a fantastic dark academia high fantasy novel. It had me gripped from page 1 all the way to the end. By far the easiest 5-star rating I've given all year and probably in a long while. The book follows a character named Siona Freinen, who is given a once-a-decade chance to become a woman who is a high mage. Now, there are only 100 high mages at a given time in this magical universe, which is deeply connected to the religion and society. And women are not even afforded the opportunity to take the test to become a high mage, except once per decade, like one woman in a whole decade. So Siona Freinen has been working at this for 20 years, and she finally gets her shot. Now, she's one of the most interesting characters I've read in a really long time. She's simultaneously brilliant and completely clueless. She's really humble, but also totally full of herself. She's amazingly smart, but completely oblivious to a lot of the world around her. So she's a really interesting character to read in that there's a ton of conflict within her as just a single character. Now, when you add that to other characters and situations in the story, you get a fascinating person to follow. It's set in the city of Tehran. Now, in Tehran, magic and religion go hand in hand, and they are critical to the entire city. It's God's city, in the opinion of all of the high mages and the arch-high mages. So, Siona is really seeking something that is extremely elite and extremely unheard of. To say that the magical organization Siona is trying to enter is riddled with sexism and nepotism is sort of the understatement of the century. So much so that, as a joke, they give her an assistant who's literally a janitor when most people's assistants have been schooled for years and years and years. So it just goes to show you what Siona is up against at this institution. This book was impressively full of characters, but Wang's writing is so clear and well structured that even though you might not retain every single name of every single person, you know who everyone is the whole time. It's a 500-page epic, and it stays crystal clear. So it's really well done, and the characters have excellent differentiation from one another in a way that you don't have to keep track of everyone in your head. She sort of gives you a reminder every single time somebody comes up. There were a handful of characters who just sort of snuck in the story, like they were there the whole time, but then all of a sudden they just started creeping in importance, and you were like, wait a minute, hold on. But it was really well done, and a lot of those characters actually became some of my favorites throughout the story. So masterfully crafted from Wang in that I didn't see everyone coming, and there were people that rose to the forefront who to me were like minor players until all of a sudden they weren't. A number of those characters fulfilled roles I didn't expect, and I love them so much I actually fist pumped twice during this book while I was listening to the audio. I mean, that's pretty extreme if a book is making you fist pump while you listen by yourself. Speaking of audiobooks, the audiobook was narrated by Moira Quick. Whew, she's good. She really did a great job with different voices and cadence and inflection, and it wasn't really forced or anything, but it was just crystal clear the whole time. But the thing she did that really impressed me was pack emotion into every single comment. I really felt the swings that the characters were experiencing in the way she presented their vocalization in the book. I mean, Wang is a masterful writer, and Moira Quick was the narrator that this book deserved. She took perfection and perfected it. It really was impressive. As you can probably tell, I'm trying really hard not to give away a lot about this book. I think the best thing I can offer you is to compare it to Babel by R.F. Kuang. They are both dark academia, high fantasy books, but it's not that makes me want to compare them. It's the fact that in Babel and in Blood Over Brighthaven, there were moments where I felt like a twist happened and I didn't understand how the book could go forward. And that happened a few times in each of these books. But what both authors did really well was keep me engaged, keep me guessing, and keep me wondering how things were going to conclude. There was not a moment where I felt this book was dull or slow or boring or lacking. I was really on the edge of my seat the entire time I was listening. And even when things twisted and turned, I was like, wow, I need to see even more where this goes. I knew this book was going to be a 5-star rating for me, even a third of the way in. I was so engrossed in it that all it had to do was hold steady and it was going to be 5 stars. In fact, I was thinking about the first chapter so much as I was listening that even when I was maybe 3 or 4 hours into the book, I went back and listened to it again because I felt like I just wanted to clarify for myself exactly what I had heard, thinking that maybe there was information in that first chapter that I would need as I listened. So I couldn't get it off of my brain, and I went back and I listened to it again and then resumed the story. I found the book so interesting overall that I purchased a copy as soon as I finished it because I know this is a book I will definitely go back and reread at some point. I liked it that much. In addition to comparing this book to Babel, I feel like I also want to mention His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. There's something about Siona that reminds me a little bit of Lyra. Like really brilliant, really smart, but also kind of clueless in a way. I feel like this could be a story that happens to Lyra as an adult. Like when Lyra's in her 30s, what would she be like? It feels like it has that sort of epic conquest and conquering things feeling. And as a huge fan of His Dark Materials, I felt like this book settled in really nicely for me. The characters had me torn the whole way through. I loved and hated them in the best possible way. I really feel like I want to live in this universe even more, and I'm really excited that Sword of Kaigen is out there because I haven't read that yet, and I look forward to settling into that book as soon as I have a moment. I purchased it halfway through this book because I was so engrossed in this writing. So I'm happy that M L Wang has another book I can dig into, and I really am excited for when I get a chance to put that one on and start that audiobook. If you've read Blood Over Brighthaven, let me know in the comments. I'm curious if it was a 5-star read for you as well, or if it wasn't, why not, what lacked. But for me, this, like I said, was one of the easiest 5-star books I've awarded all year, and probably in the last several years. So I hope you pick it up if you haven't, and if you have, let me know what you thought. But remember, you might love what I hate and hate what I love, so make your own opinion. But thanks for listening to mine. See you next time.